All right, let's talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions. Got some great news for this Nittany Lions program. Look, obviously, right now, everyone is focused, as they probably should be, full throated on the 2024 season. Obviously, early signing days complete. We've seen all the transfer portals move in. I think at this point, there's going to be a few stragglers, but we got most of them in the books at this point. We've got the final signing day not too many days away. And then, of course, spring ball. And then, but look, football will be here before you know it. But it's important to understand that the smart programs, so long term successful programs, are always keeping an eye towards the future. One of the things that I've learned, and a lot of people I've heard talk about this game for a long time, especially coaches, say you don't win recruiting classes the year that the recruiting class has to sign. You win it beforehand with the effort you put in. And Penn State is putting a lot of effort to win a lot of great recruits for future classes. Let's go into this news and we'll talk about it on the other side. This is from Nittany Lions Wire. Penn State head coach James Franklin and his updated staff were busy this weekend. Penn State hosted a number of high school juniors for the latest junior day event on campus, and that led to a number of players receiving scholarship offers to take home with them. Here's the key part. It also yielded a new commitment to the class of 2025 with the addition of offensive lineman Owen Alicini. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Being the first offensive lineman in the recruiting class for the Nittany Lions. The commitment of Alicini also helped Penn State move up to the early class of 2025 team rankings, according to the updated numbers from 24/7 Sports. Now, with 8 commitments in that class, the 2025 class, Penn State moved up from number 8 to number 6 in the updated class rankings. All right, one of the things I think is very important for any program, especially when you're a tier 2 program in your conference. I'm going to be honest with you, Penn State fans, and you probably know it. Right now, you're not at the same level as Michigan and Ohio State. Doesn't mean you can't be. It's just you're not at that level. Those guys kind of have your number a little bit. Those two teams have been dominating the Big Ten. You have certainly have the ability to overcome it, but you need to have a strong pipeline of talent. And getting top 8, top 6 recruiting classes out in the future is how you do it. Overcoming an Ohio State, overcoming a Michigan, as much as you'd like it to happen overnight, it takes time. We saw this with the Harbaugh-led Michigan Wolverines. It took them 5, 6 years to finally build up enough talent to overcome Ohio State and win a national title, right? It takes time. You have to be patient. I know as a fan, I'm sure it's very frustrating for you guys, but I trust this process that they're doing. And they're doing a great job recruiting in an era where it's really hard to recruit this early in, especially with the transfer portal, NIL. The Big Ten is being completely upended. Penn State is continuing to maintain its blue blood status by how well it's doing in their early recruiting cycle so far for 2025. I think that's a great sign going forward for the Nittany Lions. Myers, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Penn State, look, we've been talking about 2025. Let's take a step back and think about 2024. In the comment section below, Penn State fans, give us your favorite new addition to this Nittany Lions program. Offensive player, transfer, defensive player, transfer portal, recruit, whoever it may be, give us your favorite addition in the comment section below. But Myers, give me your thoughts on this news and just everything with this Nittany Lions program right now.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is great news. And it's like you said, how do you become a tier 1 team when you're right at the precipice? I'd say high tier 2. You have to recruit for the future, like you said, and you have to focus on what your weaknesses are. How do you go up against these teams like the Michigans, like the Ohio States? You have to beat them in the trenches, and getting guys like Alicine is really, really crucial. This guy is huge. He's going to be a massive, massive help on the offensive line. 6'7, 275 pounds. I think he's going to be bigger than the 3-star rating that he has when all is said and done and that year rolls around. But this guy has got some massive size on him, going to put a lot of weight on him with that college strength and conditioning program. But Nick, this is the start of 2025. Let's take a look back in 2024, what they were able to do with this class of offensive linemen. You got Cooper Cousins here, 6'6, 323 pounds. Liam Andrews, 6'5, 260. You got another guy, Garrett Sexton, 6'7, 265. And finally, Egan Boyer, 6'7, 250 pounds. They're getting a lot of size in this offensive line room. They're trying to really build up in the trenches, and I think that's going to help them out a lot, moving the ball on some of these really hard-nosed defenses like Michigan, like Ohio State. So planning for the opponent that you know you're going to have to play really is going to help out. And I think they've done an excellent job, not just in 2024, but as we said, they've already started to look forward to 2025. Just in general, we know all of the smart teams, they look ahead, they get commitments, recruitments ahead, and they get their team ready for what they have down the pipeline. Penn State, no different. James Franklin doing a great job. And I really like the kind of talent they've brought into this program so far.
And going back to the quality of this recruit, one of the things I really liked about Alasine in terms of a prospect is this is a guy. I don't mean to discount the state of Connecticut here. I know a lot of people from Connecticut. When you think of top flight football states, Connecticut does not jump to the top of the list. When you talk about the fact that he's a 3-star ranking this early in the cycle, a lot of times these recruits from these smaller football states, they usually get the lower ranking just because it's safer for all these recruiting agencies, whether it's Rivals or 24/7 Sports or whatever, to get the guys from Florida or to get the guys, St. Thomas Aquinas or from Miami, one of those places, or get the guys from Cincinnati, Moeller in Ohio. Those guys are going to be the 5-stars. A lot of big schools in Pennsylvania, the New Jersey schools, the Don Bosco preps, so on and so forth, right? Those are the guys, recruits from those schools and those areas. They get a lot of the 5-star rankings just because they have the big publicity. They play in all those big name games. All these recruiting services know who they are. Guys like Alasine, in this case, from a area that's not necessarily known for having elite level high school talent. These services are not going to give him a high ranking just because, again, not a lot of visibility, but he has all the physical tools. And I think that's the important thing for Penn State, identifying quality players with all the physical tools and getting them to commit early in the cycle. That's a smart move by Franklin and company. A lot of these other programs that kind of try and wait it out to see if they can get the guy from Cincinnati Moeller, get the guy from Don Bosco Prep or whatever. Instead, Franklin, I love the approach here. He's like, hey, we got a guy who has all the physical tools. He's from a smaller football area. Let's focus on him, getting him committed, and then we can go from there because we know he's a guy who's going to be really invested in our program. I like the overall strategy of Penn State in terms of what they're doing, focusing on the future. But in terms of what they are able to do with this individual recruit as well, I think it's smart. I don't think it's getting the attention as some of these other big name recruits are, but I think it's time to give Penn State a lot of credit, right? The product will have to show up on the football field eventually, but their overall strategy in terms of how they build their program is really, really well done.